Inside the strange tower, James looked around with wide eyes. The room was filled with machines and glowing screens that showed images of stars, planets, and strange symbols. The air smelled faintly of metal and something old, like history waiting to be told. The voice that had spoken before belonged to a small artificial intelligence, a machine with gentle, curious tones. "I am Erin, guardian of this place," it said. "You are the first outsider to come here in centuries." James took a deep breath. "I'm a soldier from Earth. I fought in a war that just ended. I didn't know this place existed until I crashed here." Erin's lights flickered softly. This city was once home to an ancient civilization, the Ilaris. They were wise and powerful, but their war with a dark empire destroyed their home long ago. James felt a chill. A dark empire, like the one we fought against. Erin paused. "Perhaps, but the truth is more complicated. The Ilaris hid many secrets here before their fall. Secrets that could change the fate of the galaxy." James's heart raced. If these secrets were real, they could help him save his people. "And Lyra, can you show me?" James asked. Erin's light brightened. "Follow me." The AI guided James through corridors filled with strange symbols etched into the walls. The walls pulsed with soft light as if alive. At the end of the path was a large chamber with a floating crystal at its center. The crystal shimmered with colors James had never seen before. "This crystal stores knowledge," Erin explained. "History, technology, power. It is the key to defeating the Shadow Empire." James stepped closer, mesmerized. He reached out and touched the crystal. A flood of images and feelings entered his mind. Battles fought long ago, cities falling, and a powerful force hidden in the darkness beyond the stars. He pulled his hand back, breathless. "This is incredible, but how do I use this?" Erin's voice grew serious. "The Shadow Empire fears what you now hold. They want to keep the galaxy in fear and control. If you share this knowledge, you can unite those who want peace." James nodded. "Then I must get this to Lyra. She must know." Erin hesitated. "Be careful. There are watchers. They will come for you." James clenched his fists. He was ready. For love, for hope, for the future of the galaxy, he would fight. Outside, the twin suns were setting, casting long shadows over the ancient city. James knew his journey had only just begun. James sat quietly in the chamber, the glow of the floating crystal casting soft light over his tired face. His mind was racing with the images and knowledge he had just received. The Ilaris had once been a great civilization, but their fall was caused by a hidden enemy, a dark empire that controlled the galaxy through fear and war. Erin, the AI guardian, watched him carefully. "The Shadow Empire hides behind many masks," Erin said. "They are the real force behind the conflicts. They want to keep species divided, weak, and easy to control." James frowned. "So the war I fought in, it was not really about peace or justice." "Many wars are false," Erin replied. "This one was designed to weaken the rising powers. Your people were only pawns." James's heart tightened. He had believed in the fight, in the hope of a better future. Now, everything felt like a lie. "But if this empire is so strong, how do we stop them?" James asked, standing up. Erin's lights flickered. "The knowledge in this crystal can help you. It contains technology and secrets lost for centuries. If used wisely, it could give you an advantage." James clenched his fists. "I have to get this to the Alliance, and to Lyra. She needs to know the truth." Suddenly, the chamber trembled. A deep rumble echoed through the ancient city. Erin's voice grew urgent. "They have found you. The Watchers are here." James grabbed a small weapon from his belt. The room's walls shimmered as the door opened with a loud hiss. Outside, figures dressed in dark armor entered, moving quickly and silently. Their helmets hid their faces, but their intent was clear: capture or kill. James fired his weapon, the bright shots echoing through the hall. He dodged and weaved between the towers, using every skill he had learned in the war. The ancient city became a battleground. Erin guided James through secret passages. "This way. There is a hidden exit." James ran, heart pounding. He felt the enemy close behind. The knowledge he carried was too important to lose. Finally, they reached a narrow tunnel leading up to the surface. James burst out into the cold night air. The twin moons hung low, casting a pale light over the rocks. He looked back once. The dark figures stopped at the city's edge, blocked by a barrier of shimmering energy. For now, James was safe, but he knew the Shadow Empire would not give up easily. James took a deep breath and started walking toward the horizon. The journey to warn the galaxy, and to reunite with Lyra, had become more dangerous than he had ever imagined. James moved cautiously through the rocky terrain, the twin moons casting soft light on the barren landscape. Every step felt heavy, but hope burned inside him. He had the knowledge to change everything. But first, he had to reach Queen Lyra. She needed to know he was alive. The broken communicator on his belt was silent. No signals, no help. But the advanced technology from the Ilaris gave James a new idea. Maybe he could repair it, or better yet, send a secret signal strong enough to reach Zalora. James set up a small camp near a ridge. He worked carefully, connecting wires and adjusting circuits, guided by the ancient blueprints stored in his mind. Hours passed, and the cold night deepened, but James did not stop. His fingers moved with purpose, fueled by love and determination. Finally, the device hummed softly, alive again. James took a deep breath and sent a coded message, a simple phrase only Lyra would understand. "I am alive. Find me." Far across the galaxy, in the glowing halls of Zalora's palace, Queen Lyra was resting. The sadness that had weighed on her heart began to lift as the palace's communication system beeped softly. A new signal appeared, weak but unmistakable. Lyra's violet eyes widened. Her heart raced. Could it be? The message was from James. She rushed to her council and showed them the code. "It is his message. James is alive." The council was stunned. After so long, hope returned, but they warned her. "The Shadow Empire will try to stop him. We must act quickly." Lyra nodded, her queenly strength shining through. "We will send a rescue mission. James will not face this alone." Back on the planet, James watched the stars. He felt a strange warmth, an invisible thread connecting him to Lyra. The message was sent, but now he had to survive until help arrived. Suddenly, a distant sound broke the silence, a low roar like engines approaching. James's heart jumped. He hid behind a rock, ready for anything. A small ship landed nearby. From it, a group of Zelleran soldiers emerged, led by a tall officer with silver armor. "Captain James Carter," the officer called. James stepped forward, his voice steady but full of relief. "I'm here." The soldiers moved quickly, helping James aboard the ship. The engines roared to life, lifting them away from the dangerous planet. As the ship flew through the stars, James looked at the stars and thought of Lyra. Soon, he would be home. But he knew the real battle was only beginning. The sleek Zelleran ship hummed through the vast darkness of space, stars blinking past like tiny diamonds. Inside the control room, James Carter sat quietly, his eyes tired but filled with hope. He had survived the impossible and was finally on his way home, to Queen Lyra. The doors opened, and a tall, graceful figure stepped inside. It was Lyra. Her violet eyes searched the room until they landed on James. For a moment, time seemed to stop. The war, the pain, the long separation, all faded away. "James," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. "Lyra," James replied, his voice soft but strong. They moved toward each other, their hands meeting, fingers intertwining. The love they shared was stronger than the distance and time that had kept them apart. But there was no time for long celebrations. The moment was bittersweet. "We have much to do," James said, looking at Lyra with determination. "The Shadow Empire is still up there. They want to keep the galaxy under their control." Lyra nodded. "I have heard whispers of new attacks. We must unite the species who want peace." James stood and pulled out a small device, the crystal from the ancient city. Its soft light pulsed gently. "This holds secrets and technology that can help us. But we must be careful. The Shadow Empire will stop at nothing to get it back." Lyra's eyes burned with resolve. "Then we build a coalition. We gather allies, humans, Zellerans, and others. Together, we can fight." Over the next few days, James and Lyra met with leaders from many planets. Their story and the crystal's power inspired hope. Old enemies began to set aside their differences to face the greater threat. As alliances formed, James and Lyra worked side by side, planning strategies and sharing knowledge. Their bond grew deeper, not just as husband and wife, but as partners in a fight for freedom. At night, when the meetings ended and the stars shone bright, James and Lyra would stand together on the ship's observation deck. They dreamed of a future where war was only a memory and peace was the law. But the Shadow Empire was not idle. Far away, its dark agents watched their every move, ready to strike. James clenched his fists. "We have the power and the will. We will not let them win." Lyra placed her hand on his shoulder. "Together, we are stronger." And so, reunited and rebuilding, they prepared for the battles ahead, battles that would decide the fate of the galaxy. The secret meeting place was hidden deep beneath the surface of a moon in the outer rim. The air was cool and quiet, filled with the low hum of advanced technology. James Carter and Queen Lyra stood at the center of a large room, surrounded by leaders from many different species. The galaxy was tired of war and fear. The Shadow Empire's control had made everyone suffer, but here, in this hidden place, hope was growing. James looked around at the faces, humans, Zellerans, and others he had never seen before. Each had their own story of loss and courage. Each wanted peace. "We cannot fight alone," James said, his voice steady. "The Shadow Empire uses fear to divide us. But together, we are strong." Lyra nodded. "We have the knowledge and the power from the ancient city. We will share it with those who fight for freedom." A tall, reptilian leader stepped forward. "Our people have suffered under the Shadow Empire's rule for decades. We will join your cause." Another leader, a small winged creature, added, "And we will use our speed and knowledge of the stars to help." As the coalition grew, they formed a network of spies, fighters, and diplomats. They called it the Galactic Underground, a secret group working to weaken the Shadow Empire's grip. James spent hours training fighters, teaching them how to use the ancient technology and new strategies. Lyra worked with diplomats, building trust between species who once fought each other. But the Shadow Empire was watching. One night, James received a message from Erin, the AI guardian of the ancient city. "They have found one of our spies." The voice warned. "The Shadow Empire is moving faster than we expected." James's jaw tightened. "We must protect our people. No more mistakes." Lyra stood beside him. "We fight not just for ourselves, but for all who dream of peace." Plans were made. Secret missions sent to disrupt enemy bases. Sabotage of supply ships. Messages sent to hidden allies. Every small victory gave the coalition hope, but also drew more attention. In the dark corners of the galaxy, the Shadow Empire's leaders gathered. Their faces were cold, their eyes full of hate. "They threaten our control," one said. "We will crush the galactic underground before it grows." James and Lyra knew the road ahead was dangerous, but the spark of rebellion was alive. Together, the humans, Zellerans, and many others prepared to fight for a future where freedom was more than a dream. The night was quiet, but beneath the surface, the galactic underground was ready to strike. In a hidden base on a moon far from the center of the galaxy, James Carter and Queen Lyra gathered their best fighters and spies. Tonight, they would attack one of the Shadow Empire's secret strongholds. James looked at the map glowing in front of him. The enemy's base was well guarded, hidden deep inside an asteroid field. But inside, they stored important technology that could help the Coalition win the war. Lyra's voice was calm but strong. "We must be careful. This mission will show the galaxy that the Shadow Empire is not invincible." The fighters nodded, their faces serious but ready. Among them were many species, all united by a common goal: freedom. The ships slipped through the asteroid field like shadows. James's ship led the way, weaving between rocks and debris. Sensors scanned constantly for traps or enemies. Suddenly, alarms blared. The Shadow Empire's defenses had spotted them. "Battle stations," James ordered. "We fight for our future." The quiet night exploded with light and sound. Lasers flashed, engines roared, and ships dodged and weaved through the field. Inside the enemy base, Lyra led a team of spies who moved quickly and silently. Their goal was to find and steal secret data about the Shadow Empire's plans. James fought bravely in space, protecting the ships from enemy fighters. His years of training showed as he outmaneuvered attackers, keeping his crew safe. Meanwhile, Lyra's team reached the central control room. They hacked into the systems, downloading files and maps. The secrets they uncovered were shocking: plans for new attacks, spies within the Coalition, and a weapon that could destroy entire planets. "We have what we came for," Lyra whispered into her communicator. "Time to leave." But the Shadow Empire was not done yet. Guards flooded the corridors, closing in on the team. Lyra and her fighters fought with fierce courage. They used the ancient technology James had found to defend themselves, pushing back the attackers. James received the message and quickly redirected ships to pick them up. Explosions rocked the base as the Coalition forces made their escape. Back on the Galactic Underground's base, the Coalition leaders studied the stolen data. The truth was clear. The Shadow Empire's power was great, but so was the hope of those who fought against it. James looked at Lyra and smiled. "This is just the beginning." Lyra nodded. "The galaxy will know the truth, and we will fight until freedom wins." The galaxy was watching. News of the Galactic Underground's daring attack spread quickly, shaking the Shadow Empire's control. Queen Lyra stood tall before a crowd of allies and soldiers, her voice strong and clear. "We face a great enemy, one that uses fear to divide us," she said. "But today we show them we will not be broken." James stood beside her, his eyes burning with determination. Together, they planned their boldest move yet: an assault on the Shadow Empire's capital world. The plan was risky. The capital was heavily guarded, surrounded by a fleet of powerful warships. But Lyra believed that with unity and courage, even the strongest walls could fall. As the fleet approached the capital, tension filled the air. Ships from many species flew side by side, their weapons ready. James piloted the lead ship, his hand steady on the controls, his mind focused on the mission and on Lyra. "Remember, this is more than a battle," Lyra reminded the commanders. "It is a symbol of hope for the entire galaxy." The attack began with a burst of light. Lasers tore through space as the Coalition fought bravely. The Shadow Empire's fleet responded fiercely, but the Coalition's fighters moved with speed and skill. Inside the capital, Lyra led a strike team through the palace halls. The corridors were guarded by elite soldiers, but the team's training and determination pushed them forward. James and the fleet worked to break the enemy's shield. The ancient technology from the Ilaris gave them an edge, slowly weakening the defenses. Finally, Lyra reached the throne room, where the Shadow Empire's leader awaited. His face was hidden by a dark helmet, but his voice was cold and full of hate. "You cannot win," he hissed. "The galaxy will always belong to us." Lyra stepped forward, her eyes shining with fierce light. "The galaxy belongs to those who fight for peace and freedom." A fierce battle began. Lyra's team fought with skill and bravery, and with James's fleet breaking the shield outside, victory seemed possible. The Shadow Empire's leader fell, his control shattered. The capital's defenses collapsed, and the coalition's forces took control. The galaxy watched in awe as the symbol of the Shadow Empire fell. James and Lyra stood together, victorious but knowing the fight was not over. "This is a new beginning," James said. Lyra smiled. "Together, we will build a future where no one lives in fear." The galaxy was changing. The Shadow Empire's dark rule was broken, and light began to spread across the stars. Planets once under fear and control were now free to rebuild, to dream again. James Carter stood on the bridge of a large ship, looking out at the stars. Beside him, Queen Lyra watched with hope in her eyes. Their journey had been long and hard, filled with loss and danger, but they had made it through. "We did it," James said softly. "We showed them that humans, and all of us, can be strong together." Lyra smiled. "And now we have a chance to make a better future. For our people, and for everyone in the galaxy." Leaders from many worlds gathered on Zalora to create a new alliance. This alliance promised peace, cooperation, and respect for all species. James and Lyra worked side by side, not just as rulers, but as symbols of hope and unity. There were still challenges. Many planets needed help to recover. Old wounds would take time to heal, but the dark days of war and fear were behind them. James often thought about the ancient city and the secrets he had uncovered there. Those secrets had been the key to victory, but it was the courage and unity of many species that had truly changed the galaxy. One evening, under the bright Zelleran moons, James and Lyra stood together outside the palace. The stars sparkled above like the eyes of 1,000 watchers. Lyra took James's hand and said, "We survived the darkness. Together, we will keep the light alive." James squeezed her hand. "I promise, no matter what comes, we face it together." The galaxy had learned a powerful lesson, that even in the darkest times, hope, love, and courage could shine through. As new ships prepared to explore unknown worlds and old enemies were given a chance to change, a new dawn had truly begun. And somewhere, in the endless stars, the story of James Carter and Queen Lyra became a legend, a reminder that humanity and its allies could rise above any challenge, stronger than ever. Captain Maya Trent sat quietly in the small briefing room. The lights were low, and a hologram floated in front of her. It showed a strange, colorful planet called Sci-Fi. The planet was far from Earth and surrounded by many stars. A calm voice spoke from the room's speaker. "Captain Trent, your mission is urgent. The daughter of Queen Lyra, ruler of the Xylar Alliance, has been kidnapped by a rebel group. They want to use her to start a war." Maya's eyes narrowed as she looked at the planet. She had heard about the Xylar Alliance before. They were one of the strongest alien groups near Earth. If the rebels hurt the Queen's daughter, the whole galaxy could face a terrible war. "You will go alone," the voice continued. "Find the girl, rescue her, and bring her back safely. You have full support from Earth Command. But be careful, the planet is dangerous, and the rebels are strong." Maya stood up, feeling the weight of the mission. She had trained for years to handle tough situations, but this mission was different. It was not just about fighting enemies. It was about saving a child and keeping peace between many worlds. She nodded. "I understand. I'll do my best." The briefing ended, and Maya left the room. She walked down the hallway to the ship that would take her to Xylar. The ship was small but fast, built for tough missions like this one. As she prepared, Maya thought about the little girl she had to save. She did not know how old the girl was, but she imagined her scared and alone, waiting for help. The ship's engine started with a low hum. Maya settled into her seat, checking her weapons and gear. She had her standard combat suit, a plasma rifle, and a few gadgets that could help her in strange environments. Outside the ship, the stars shone brightly. Maya felt a mix of excitement and worry. She was far from Earth, heading into unknown dangers. But she also felt strong. She was a human soldier, trained, smart, and brave. As the ship flew through space, Maya looked at the planet ahead. It was covered in forests and mountains, with storms moving across its surface. The rebel group was hiding somewhere there, holding the queen's daughter. Maya took a deep breath. "I have to find her," she whispered, "no matter what." The ship began to enter the planet's atmosphere. Outside, the world looked wild and untamed. Maya knew the mission would be hard. The rebels would not give up easily. But she also knew something else. Humans had a special strength. They could adapt and fight in any place. They had hope and courage, and Maya was ready to prove it.